Hi guys, per usual, everything on this channel is for educational purposes only and not for financial advice, especially for things like LTC. So shout out to my boy Ben, who's held LTC for 4 years. Oh my god, I can't even imagine. 3 years, 4 years, something like that. 2013, yeah, 4 years. Anyway, a lot of people asking me about LTC. Let's take a look. Originally on the weekly, there was this idea that some of these coins call it a post 9/11 world. The idea was that like after here, there was just a window of time where it took to recover. Doge looks just like this as well. So in one of the altcoin extravaganza videos, I was measuring this out, 500 something. It's close. It's like 600, but not really actionable. It was just dying. Obviously, SegWit activation possibility is pretty huge. Any fundamental news for something that's been doing nothing for the past 3-4 years, arguably nothing. I know the Litecoin people are going to get triggered right now. but yeah, anyway, so this is the weekly, and clearly it started to break out, but really there really wasn't anything, just like Ripple, in my opinion. If you're a fundamental person, you would have been in earlier, but for me, on a technical level, maybe you could have been in here on the second candle. Again, if you're playing Hikinashi, the play is always wait for the second candle that's above the close, and the open is above or below the previous close and the open if you're trying to go long. So, if you're watching this on the weekly, which you should have been, because watching this on the daily would have been, or lower, would have been literally torture. When you see this just downtrend, then it starts to flip. Okay, that's when you want to take the trade. Same thing here, downtrend, starts to flip. You can see this just massive blood in LTC lately, leading into this year. And honestly, I don't even know why. Like, other than I thought it was being held up here by the creator, because you can see there's a massive horizontal support resist line here. It's like before support and after it died, okay, and it broke back up through there, so that's good. Obviously, all-time high zone. You'd expect targets within this zone here. Why? Just because that's where all these wicks are. I don't expect it to go suddenly shooting past all this stuff. It would probably consolidate in this zone. I really like 0.019. I'll show you why, but overall, LTC certainly looks better than it did a few weeks ago, that's for sure. Just looking at, just seeing if there's any divs here. There will be a div on this, I don't doubt it, because it's got up to 88 here, which is pretty insane. I think this was some sort of multi-level marketing scheme thing, if I remember correctly. So this, this wasn't organic, but whatever. I'm not saying this is. Then if we just look at this simply with EMAs, there's actually enough data for a 200 on the weekly, which is great because it goes back to 2012 on BTCE. But my point here being, it broke the 50, which it hasn't since 2015 October. Oof. It broke the 50 pretty cleanly here in this candle. It also broke the previous horizontal support resist line. Overall, very bullish. Should it pull back, it would probably pull back to this horizontal support resist line 006. Okay. The next target would be the 200 on the weekly. That's one way to look at it. If we leave that on for a minute and just turn on the cloud, you can see the cloud is about there at the 200. If we turn off the EMAs for a second and look at just the cloud, you can see it's actually been, price has actually been below the cloud and below the Kijun since 2014, March 2014, depending on how you want to count this candle. So it's been in bear mode for a long time. It was definitely due. But again, I can't just buy a coin thinking it's due and then wait and hold it for years. Some people do. That's fine. That's just not for me. It was at historic lows. That was another reason to buy, just considering, again, this horizontal support resist line. So the target for the cloud would be this edge-to-edge trade. Again, this isn't any new information if you've been watching any of these videos for the past few days. Everything's always the same with cloud, okay? That's why I love it so much. So your edge-to-edge trade would be here. And again, that's why I love this 019 level. And this might seem absurd, but if you go to Bitcoin real quick, this is just to show you an example of what the weekly edge-to-edge trades look like and how long they take. You can see, closing the cloud around here, and it took How long did it take? 210 days to get to the other side. So it might take that long for LTC. I doubt it because the market cap's smaller and people can just toss money around and the pond splashes big. So, LTC will probably move a lot quicker. It's got less real estate to move through in the cloud. So overall, this could happen within a matter of months, but it's a really great target, 0.019, this zone in here for sure. So that's the weekly. And if you start to buy up here, that's interesting. I don't know, send me a reason. Because people will start buying up here. All these wicks mean people are buying up here. People were buying up here and there was no support to sustain that buying, and that's why I kept pulling back here, here, here. So we'll see, I'm certainly not super optimistic here, but SegWit's pretty big, so you never know. If we go down to the daily gets pretty interesting as well. Again, you'll see these just random spikes. It's just like down for 3 years and then random spike, down for 3 years, random spike. Not exactly super tradable other than a buy and hold, which is fine. You're not actively trading, you're probably doing better anyway. But on the daily, you can see it doesn't look like much of anything at the moment. I was thinking ascending triangle, rising wedge, bull flag. Cloud doesn't really tell you much. This is what I call a blown out cloud. You just have to move to a much lower time frame to figure out what's going on. So I was looking at it on the 4 hour. I was kind of thinking cup and handle here, and you can see it here, and then the target would be somewhere up here, but that's loosely drawn and not too relevant, but certainly a possibility. I think the most important thing I realized when I was looking at this is it's kind of messy and doesn't really make much sense of anything. There's a bunch of big volume and then descending volume, big volume, descending volume, big volume, descending volume. So just based on the past few days, it's due for another spike in volume if you want to play that. This was certainly an inverted head and shoulders at the top, which is weird. It's trying to break. Let's see if this is even, I don't even think this is even anything, but maybe this is. The volume profile isn't there, but maybe this is some sort of triangle going on here. I think the safer buy is just to wait until it is in the cloud for certain. To give it a few more weeks, maybe even a month, maybe even a couple months. Let it swirl around in this zone here. Let it just do its thing. What a freaking trade that would be. If you go long at the historic support, your stop could be the Kijun, which at that point would be likely, not far. Talk about a massive, massive trade that would be. So we'll see if that works out. And again, the only reason I'm even thinking about that is because the cloud's here. Anytime the cloud's there, it just says, support's down here. So that gives it an opportunity to just jump in somewhere in there and take off from there. Now, the other thing I'm watching on the weekly is the TK cross, which is still bearish. Now, price is far above the Kijun at the moment, so you should be out of any short just based on that. So there would have been two opportunities should you have been short to cut it. One is always at the cloud, and the second is if it breaks the Kijun or even the previous Tenkan horizontal, depending on how you want to play that. Not something I talk about often, but certainly a possibility. So, it's above all these zones. It's certainly hitting any short stops, I think, on leverage, definitely. And lastly, I think I rambled on enough, but this seems to be the most relevant of anything. I think the cloud's kind of useless here. Definitely look for chart patterns, but they don't seem too important here. Cup and handle's possible, inverted head and shoulders already played out. But anyway, this is the pitchfork that I've seemed to settle on. Make sure you're in log, by the way. That's in the bottom here. So here's the yearly pivots, and you can see it cleanly broke this is the pivot R1 here, R2 here. So this just gives you a timeline should this continue. And again, buy zone in here, sell zone in here. This is the mean of the trend. Expect this to be hit continuously as this goes. Should price close below this pitchfork, expect that pitchfork to be invalidated. You can tell by the angle of this pitchfork that on higher time frames this won't continue on forever, certainly. But in the meantime, definitely watch it on the 30-minute or the hourly, even the 15-minute. It kind of reminds me of Pascal when it got released to Polo, when it got added. And there's all this sudden buying, right? And then it just died off. But the pitchfork was really powerful for that too. And again, even this volume, who the hell knows what's going on there? So that's all I have for today on Litecoin. Just had a bunch of charts and stuff I want to talk about that I couldn't put in a tweet. So why not make a video? Let me know what you think about Litecoin. Is there something I missed that you saw? like some crazy 1135 EMA cross or something. Hit me up on Twitter, Telegram, and happy trading.